Actually, that is the main thing about being a kraamverzorg, to know what the core thing is, where you should look for, what people need. And of course, in the 90% of the cases, it's about the same. We have things that we need to tell about diseases, about safety, about breastfeeding, but there's also this percentage where you do the extra or where you do what is needed, and that is really fulfilling.
Spread Great Ideas is meant to increase the signal in a world awash in noise. I'm your curator and host, Brian David Crane, and it is my quest to share the learnings of the world's most interesting people, the disruptors, the outliers, the libertines, and those who've been unconventionally successful so that we can become a little bit wiser together. Cool, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking with Bo Bink, who's the Kraamzorg following the birth of our second child 6 days ago, Josephine May. What is a Kraamzorg, you're wondering? It's part of what the Dutch call the kraamverzorgster, which is the system of in-home care immediately following the birth of every child in the Netherlands. Bo's been a Kraamzorg for 22 years. In fact, as she's sitting here across from me, Josie May is asleep on Bo's chest. Almost asleep, yeah. We're going to be talking about the unique Dutch model for childbirth, which is preventative, low intervention, and community-based, a model which, statistically speaking, has some of the best outcomes in the world for both mother and baby. And it costs approximately 20% of what giving birth in the U.S. would. So, Bo, glad to have you on. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I was looking at some of the numbers before we started the show. I just want to give folks who are listening a sense of this. If you look at statistics like maternal mortality or infant mortality, in the Netherlands, in the U.S., you're 5 to 6 times more likely for the mother to die than you are in the U.S. Infant mortality is 40% less in the Netherlands. C-section rates are 50% less. Preterm birth rates are 40% less, and breastfeeding is higher here than it is in the U.S. And we're going to get into some of these other numbers later about how all this comes about. But the point with just the initial statistics is to say the Dutch have this system that is both midwife centric on before the birth, and then kraamzorg centric after the birth.
Yes.
What is it that you like about your job? Like, how is it that how did you wind up doing this, and why is it that you think it's so good for the mother and the baby?
Yeah, I think to say the first is that you really must be a person for it, because it has, as a kraamzorg, you are a lot of things. Kraamzorg is like you're the spokesperson, you're the medical checkupper, you're the breastfeeding expert, you're doing a little bit of housekeeping.
You're a psychologist.
You're the psychologist sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely, you have to rate her directly in the first, well, let's say the first 2 days, what people want from you. Some people who have a first child, they just want a lot of information and to see how things work, and they ask a lot. While with the second child, they know already a lot of things, so you can run through the obligated things that you have to tell, and then go to other things or maybe deeper stuff. So for me, I started out doing a office job.
As a bookkeeper, you said.
Yeah, as a bookkeeper, just because in that time you could like that was the thing to do if you want to earn some money, and I just was a bit clueless about what I wanted. Well, when I was really young, I told my mother I wanted to.
Okay, let me, for those not familiar with what a kraamzorg is, let me describe it in my words. You fill in where I'm wrong about this, or what I've missed. But basically, after the birth, you can go to the birth. You can also, or you're sorry, I should say, you're expected to be at the birth, and then for the week following the birth, you come to the birth mother's home.
Yes.
and you're there from, in our case, 9 to 4, and you come in, you sit with the mom, you see how the night was, you see how the baby's doing, you check the baby's weight, you check the mom, you check her physically, see how she's healing. Um, you do things like prepare food for the mom and for the baby. Chat with them and help them with breastfeeding. That's a big one. Like confidence in terms of how to get the baby to latch. Is the baby eating enough? Um, what else are you like? Yeah, I mean,
if there are problems there,
yeah,
then you're making a plan of how you think you would proceed in that week,
yeah,
and yeah, and also you do some chores in the house. Not just that everything is light for the
and
family, so
smooth.
it can, yeah, it's smooth, and they can still run their things like they're used to.
Yeah,
But you're kicking in where they just can't because they're or tired or have another child
yeah,
or whatever the mother is doing. So yeah, we're not a housekeeper, but you do kick in where needed.
yeah,
I mean, especially with laundry, you have loads of it when
yeah,
you have a baby.
yeah,
So and that's fine.
yeah,
It's all for the greater good.
yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah, because I think it's important to just understand that, like, if you're a mom and you've come, let's say you give birth at a hospital and you come home, you walk into this house, you have a new baby with you,
Yeah.
and you don't have family around, and you don't have a kraamzorg who's there. I would just imagine it would feel incredibly lonely. Yeah, like incredibly lonely, and that you're you're like you have all this time and energy and focus that goes into the birth, let's say, but anything that comes post birth, like what's the feeding schedule for the baby? What's it like all, there's just, yeah, you're there to support in all of those things. And I think it's so nice, number one, that you come to the home, number two, that the midwife comes to the home, that the local Hemente comes to the home. Like, it's all, you don't have to, the mother doesn't have to go out, doesn't have to sit in a car, isn't expected to take their child out into the, it's like, it's very home centric and family
Yes,
centric,
it
right?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I think, well, to talk about the care you get, and of course in Holland, this is a very unique thing.
Hmm.
So, for example, in Germany, they have this system where they will let the midwife come to their homes, but just for a checkup, like once a day, see how the breastfeeding goes. Are you okay? Do you have any medical issues? And then they'll leave again. So that at least is something. But thirdly, the whole kraamzorg is unique in Holland.
Hmm.
And I used to think that was just normal, but now I know how it goes in other countries. I'm so grateful to do this job because and now because I'm self-employed, and the first reason I wanted to do this is, well, to be honest, it earns a lot more.
Hmm.
And but the second was I can, like, help people from the beginning.
Hmm.
So they call me, they see my website
Hmm.
and say I'm pregnant, and then that's a happy news, right?
Hmm.
So I register them, I go through the process of administration and how it will go to have around week 30 we come to their homes to do an intake, and also to hear about their expectations and how they think the breastfeeding will go, how their interpretation of that is, if they even want to give breastfeeding, because some women can't because of an operation or have, yeah, traumatic experiences. So it's very you listen to the person and the whole family, actually, because the partner is often there too, and then you know a bit more about the family. So if you start working there or even do the labor, they have a trusting person around them, not only the midwife who they saw earlier in the pregnancy, but also the supporting part, which I do, is helping the midwife, making sure the surroundings is set up and everybody's relaxed, to yeah, to make the birth a relaxed thing, so in order to not have complications. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, just to say that I'm so grateful to do this job, and why I became a self-employed person is that I can do the whole process, and it's really rewarding. And if, of course, when you start this job, you're not all you don't know it all. You get educated the basics, and you have to learn in the field. And as you grow personally, you grow also in your job if you're interested. Not everybody
is.
Yeah, is and or wants to do all the parts of the kraamzorg. And if you do, it's perfect. And then when you leave the family with a uh, with a feeling that they are in their own strength, that they can handle the things, that they know everything what is to know about taking care of a baby. Yeah, it feels rewarding, and I think you have less complications because of that.
Yeah, the data bears that out. Yeah, the postpartum rates in the Netherlands.
And when they started talking about in the government, they started talking about taking away the kraamzorg because it was a luxury. I was like, man, how can you do that? It's such a positive impulse for healthy pregnant and giving birth women. And also, yeah, the doctors in our country are, yeah, very, how do you say it, full. Their practices are overloaded with people. So if you take something like this out or lessen it with hours or whatever, they will be so packed. You get more problems, more pointing to the hospital. Yeah, just go there, go to the ER, or go to the first aid. It will be terrible. But anyway,
more expensive, worse outcomes.
Exactly.
More traumatic, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. So that I'm happy that that is not happening now. It's postponed.
Yeah.
But we do get less hours to divide, and they want us to do more families in 1 week. Because we're still lacking of kraamverzorgsters. We're still, so come here and apply
and learn and learn the ways. Yeah,
learn the ways.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting because what you touch on there is there was, you and I were talking prior to the show, that there was in the 90s a concentrated effort in the Netherlands to go against the medicalization of birth.
Yeah.
And really, let's call it fortify and say midwives are important, and midwives are the first line of care for pregnant women.
They contribute to
they contribute. They should have their own practices. They should have their own autonomy and like legal status. It's not like a second rate setup. And so then from what I've read, from the 90s onwards, the midwife system really developed and expanded to provide very good primary care for pregnant women. And it was only in the case of like a medical birth that you wound up with an OBGYN.
Yes.
And so generally speaking, the midwives prior to and up to the birth, and then the kraamzorgs after, provided a very nice safety net for every woman who's pregnant in the Netherlands, without needing to go into the hospital system and without needing to be seen by a doctor, effectively, right?
Yeah, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
And the midwife is still and responsible. So if something would happen in the kraamweek, as we call it,
you call the midwife.
I always have to, I have to. Of course, I'm that experienced that I hardly do it, but officially, and if there's a necessity for it, you have to call the midwife in case of breast infection or whatever medical thing going on.
Yeah.
But also social things.
Okay.
And that's where we also kick in. Eh?
And what do you mean by social things?
Well, not everybody has a good nest, let's say.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have bad relationships. They don't have money. They have the homing is really terrible
You
sometimes.
see a lot of addiction.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Especially, yeah, alcohol is something that is accepted everywhere,
Yeah,
but it's so easily to get addicted to.
yeah.
And then where is the the threshold between an addiction or just having a glass of wine in the afternoon? So I've seen that, and women lying about it
Mm.
because they know that there is an eye that watches them, and if it goes wrong, we also have it's called HMK. It's a company which you can go to as a professional
Hmm.
to tell them that
Hmm. You
you
saw.
think something's wrong, like this feeling that you have, you cannot put your finger to it, but you think, I don't think this is going well. And there's a youth healthcare center that's also on top of that, like where you go every month with your child to get checkups.
This is the consultatiebureau.
Consultatiebureau,
Yeah. Okay.
yes. So especially the first year, you go there every month, get kind of a checkup, but also they weigh the baby. They ask you how you're doing, if you're sleeping, how the breastfeeding is going. So they're all small, yeah, not seeable, but it's a checkup,
Hmm.
how things are going, and if
Hmm.
you're okay.
Hmm.
And the AMK melding, where you can go when there's really something wrong.
Hmm.
I think it's good. We get educated now because in earlier days, like 5 years ago, we had to go through the midwife,
Hmm.
which is fine, by the way, but we are also obligated now that we can do it ourselves
Okay.
when we have this feeling. We don't have to go directly through the midwife anymore. I don't know if it's a extra positive thing, but anyway, I think the intention of those companies are, yeah, it's great. It helps you. But what I wanted to say about families that I see,
Hmm.
addiction is one thing, but one time, I will make it short, but I was appointed to a house where, hoe zeg je dat, mensenhandel, where women they take their passports, they have to do
Yeah.
sleeping with men,
Yeah.
and then under false
Yeah.
promises
Yeah.
they get them to
Human trafficking.
human trafficking.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And there's a house for it that women who got pregnant from that, they go to the police. Yeah, it's terrible. I can tell you there's a market for pregnant women
Mm. That men
to
want to sleep
exploit
with.
them. Yeah, yeah. It's horrible. So I went there and you can so do something for those, and so your job is not only making sure the medical side of it is good and the breastfeeding goes well, um, but it's also to you take care of them, you
Hmm.
listen to their
Hmm.
story, and
Hmm.
you can help them. Once I had a disabled, like, she was from human trafficking, but she was not totally well, weak minded, or how do you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she could not understand everything, but she got her child, and she wanted to keep it, but actually it was not really possible. So I flew in, and yeah, the only thing I could do is learn her, teach her how to take care of herself, make a pasta with a sauce, go to the grocery store, how what to get, and I was so happy doing that,
Hmm.
and that is the main thing about being a kraamverzorg, to know what the core thing is, where you should look for, what people need, and of course, in the 90% of the cases, it's about the same. And we have things that we need to tell about diseases, about safety, about breastfeeding, but there's also this percentage where you do the extra or where you do what is needed, and that is really fulfilling. And I had to cry that day because it was an emotional thing, because the next time I went there for another lady, um, she came to me. She ran to me. I say, "Where's Alexander?" No, Alexander gone. and Alexander was brought to another house.
Put up for adoption, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
For adoption, because it was not. I could tell.
Yeah.
I had talks with the hoe zeg je dat? Begeleiding, the one who was head of
The house, or
yeah.
yeah.
She asked me, "What do you think? What are your findings?" So I said, "Yeah, I don't see this
Working out well
working
if the
out
child
well,
stays
but
with
I
the
don't
mother.
want
Yeah.
to be the one to tell
Yeah.
take her child away.
Yeah.
It's something that's very painful.
Yeah.
No mother should go through that.
Yeah.
So, but those things I see. It's of course not every day, but they stick to you. And this job is more than only after birth care.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important
Mm-hmm.
if you understand what is asked from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how? So, yeah, I think that you had told a story before we went on the show of um, giving birth. Not you giving birth, helping with the birth of assisting with the birth at a woman who wanted to do it in one of the houseboats in the canal, right? Yeah. You want to share that story?
Yes, of course. I was on shift, and in that time I think I still worked in on a payroll. Well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I got called, and where do I have to go? And it was on a boat in a canal.
Yeah.
And we have these boats where you can just live on.
Yeah.
People do that. It's a different way, and you don't have a lot of space, but you just have there what is necessary, and you live, and you have a nice view on the water. So those people were very zen, and everything was kind of, yeah, they had like this limestone, I don't know what it is, clay on the wall everywhere, and inserts with old fashioned candles. And it was like a fairy tale. And then in the living room, there was I don't know how you call it, a hole, not a hole, but a kuil. Like it was not elevated, but lowered.
Yeah.
And there was this, you can rent that, and in any house you can do that, a bath.
Yeah.
And it's a bath you rent, you blow it up.
Inflate it, yeah.
Yeah, you inflate it, and then you pour the water in there, and there's a kind of a seat for the kraamvrouw, for the pregnant lady.
Yeah.
And the midwife have extra long sleeves. Hoe zeg je dat?
Yeah, they're wearing gloves that cover up.
Gloves that cover up like a farmer.
Yeah.
To go and have a feel, but actually the birth labor, they don't do a lot. You're allowed to go in there as long as your membranes are still intact. You can go in there, because as soon as they break, you have this extra chance of infection, because dirty water can come in.
Okay.
So when the membranes break, you have to be a bit more alert, and you have to be almost there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And then, so I was like in the middle of the night in this fairy tale house in the water, with a boat also in the water.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very nice experience.
Mm-hmm.
And there was music and small candles. The baby came out, and yes, sure, there's blood too. But yeah, the baby already opened the eyes in the water.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's an experience you'll never forget again.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very nice. And then in the end, when everybody was showered and dressed and checked up by the midwife, that happens, of course, for the baby. Then I left the boat, not the house. I left the boat and I cycled home.
The birds are chirping first thing in the morning.
Yeah. You listen to the birds and you're driving home, you're like totally wrecked, but you're so happy. Mm-hmm. You're so fulfilled that you could assist and help, and leave them like, okay, you're coming in a few hours, you're coming back. Of course, you first go to sleep, and then you will come back in the afternoon to check up on us. Well, how good can it get?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's two, there's two parts to the Dutch birth system that to me are very special. The one is, well, there's multiple ones, but two of them that to me stand out. One of them is the encouragement and the acceptance of home births, like what you're talking about. 1 out of 5 here is a home birth, maybe 20 to 25%. 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5, depending on who you ask. In the States, it's less than 2%.
Amazing.
Yeah, and for us, first birth was a home birth, absolutely phenomenal experience. Second birth was at a local hospital, also a great experience. I can say though that the home birth was less stressful as far as you didn't have to get into a car, you didn't have to leave your home, you didn't have to worry about packing anything up. That was a really beautiful experience. So I love the focus on home births and the acceptance of it. And then I also, there is a big push in the Netherlands to encourage the mother let's call it embrace the pain. I don't know what to call it, right?
Yeah, it's embrace the pain. Go through it.
To go through it.
And just let it come to you.
Yeah.
Because it's going to help you.
And you see it, and the reason I say that is because you see it in the statistics as well, as far as there's 75% less usage of epidurals. So the pain,
That's a lot,
yeah, like it's roughly 25% in the Netherlands and 70 to 75% in the States. And you just have so you have, let's call it 20% home births, and even in the home births, like they're not allowed to do the epidurals, right? Like if you're going to do an epidural, you have to go to the hospital for it.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about the Dutch philosophy, both as a woman, as a mother, and as a kraamzorg, as far as what birth, like why is it that pain is welcomed?
Yeah.
That's a bad way to put it. But why is pain viewed in a different way than in the other Western countries where it's medicalized away?
Well, I think that basically, if you look towards history, like 100 years ago, I think in a lot of countries, same as Holland, they were all home births because they didn't know any better. That was, you had your neighbor, so you had to go through all that pain. And also, women were almost, it was normal that as a woman you have pain during delivery and that's it. But there were also a lot of complications. But sorry, to go back to your question, I think I got lost a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, you're talking about why, why does the Dutch, generally speaking, say what is pain? Like why is pain, right?
It's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think. Yeah, well, maybe we're strong women. No. Yeah, we are, but we got taught very early that to give birth is a process which includes pain. This is what you get told from very young age off. So you start out differently than maybe in America, where you already know if you get married before you get children that it will be in a hospital with pain relief, and I mean that's a very different start. So I think a lot of it comes from that, and yeah, but it's not. I mean, there's a big group who does want to have pain relief, but because we are as a system we're so all about being natural and that it belongs to the process that yeah some of them go over to the other side, and the ones who do want to get pain relief because it's I think it's about fear also, being afraid of pain. But if you explain a person what pain is and where it's needed from. I got explained by you how you got taught at the pregnancy course.
Yeah.
what pain is for,
Yeah.
and that and it's true. But they explain because I've never had a course like that, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
But how you explained it, yeah, it's true. You need the pain um, to get a certain necessity to go on, to continue, because you know there is an end, and you need to go towards that end.
Mm-hmm.
And the pain reminds you the necessity of pressing, of getting that child out.
Mm-hmm.
And it enhances your strength
Mm-hmm.
and to do so
Mm-hmm. Mentally and physically.
mentally
Yeah.
and physically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I've heard said like that you will feel stronger after this is over with,
yeah,
right?
of course, you're
Like
proud of yourself because you did it.
you did it. You came out the other end of it.
Yeah,
You know you're tough enough to
yeah,
handle it. You know it's not there is an end, right?
yeah.
And it's not actually harmful. This is a very natural
It's a very
experience.
natural, but it's all about what you're getting taught.
Yeah,
I think that's the basic thing.
yeah,
It's if you're educated in the right way,
yeah,
you will do it probably that way
yeah,
because you get taught that that is the normal,
yeah,
that is the healthiest thing to do.
yeah.
Because I don't know how it is in America, but I know for a fact that an epidural,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the percentage, but it often goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tube with a bone marrow
Mm-hmm.
where they have to go right in the middle
Mm-hmm.
to get both legs, the nerves, and the whole system to be numb.
Numbed. Yeah.
If it goes a bit, if they put it in a little bit too high,
Mm-hmm.
your lungs get numbed and you have problems breathing. If it's a little bit too low, you don't get sedated at all. Yeah, your legs. And
Doesn't do you any good though if your lower legs are numb and you're
exactly.
yeah.
And I also know a story about a woman from Amsterdam. It was a thing. I think it was 20 years ago or something. She got an epidural,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a bit too high,
Mm-hmm.
but so high that she could not speak. But she felt everything. So it was too high. They cut in her. She had hell of pain, and she couldn't
Couldn't
say
say
it.
anything. Yeah.
Nah, that's horror, right?
No.
And of course, those were incidents. But just to say that it's not a holy thing,
Mm-hmm.
the epidural, it has a lot of chances to go wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and it's painful. You have hell pain of contractions, and then within that pain, you have to bend over to make room between the vertebrae to get the needle in.
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
Yeah, they also, I mean, they talked about, to speak to what you're saying, two things in the birth course. One was about there's way less scheduling of births here than in the States. So, you're due, you have a due date, but like any time within, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks of that due date, the baby
Yes.
can come.
Yeah.
And so one of the things the Dutch do is women have pregnancy leave that starts 6 weeks before their due date. You can
6 to 4 weeks before due date. You can choose.
Okay, and then you also have maternity leave afterwards. But the lead up to the birth, you're going into maternity leave either 6 weeks or 4 weeks
Mm-hmm.
before the expected due date, and
Yes.
so that transmutes itself down into less stress, less worry. Let's say they can prepare better. They get there physically, mentally, like they're ready for the arrival of their baby,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're not rushing to get to like a hospital where you're trying to be medicated and sometimes needing to have a C-section, right? Like these things, they're kind of all tied together in the sense of there is a sense of, well, we need to rush and we need to get it done and we need to make it so it's as least painful for the woman as possible. Like, anyways, I say this because with my wife, her experience when she started with this with Josephine, with our second, having labor pains, she calls the midwife who she's seen, I don't know, 15 times, 10 times for checkups already.
Yeah.
The midwife comes over, looks at her, checks her, finds out how far she's dilated, what the contractions are like, At that point, the midwife says, okay, cool, you should go to a hospital, you should wait, take a shower. But again, it's like the first level of care. We don't immediately hop in the car and drive to the hospital as soon as she starts having labor pains, which to me is unique, right? Like, okay, cool, like this person's come over who we already trust and know. And then we reached out to you and said, okay, cool, we think the labor started, or the contractions at least have started. And in doing that, you have this sense of like it's a natural, like there's a natural buildup to it. It's not this sort of like, oh my gosh, we have to have an ambulance here who is.
Sorry to interrupt, but would you think that because you are seeing it like a positive thing?
Yeah.
But don't you think that maybe American people who are used to that system are a bit afraid to go through something like this?
Yeah. But I think they are. Yeah, but having seen it through the Dutch system and seen how, how it was not a, it was not a, it was not an emergency. Like it was urgent, but not an emergency. And there's a difference between the two, right? And so because it's not treated as an emergency, you can adjust. And that's part of the point with it. Like, okay, you recognize that there's going to be pain, but you also know that it's temporary.
Yeah.
You know you're going to be stronger for having gone through it. You don't necessarily need an epidural. It's elective, right? It's not necessarily and that messaging that comes across of like
your body.
Trust your body. You are strong and capable, and you're going to feel better having having done this. You know, like on a
planning everything gives so much away. You give everything away to the person that is going to
create the plan.
Create the plan. I mean, who says that your system, your body is ready? When they say you're ready. So they're on top of what you need to do. To me, it sounds very strange. To me, it sounds like really scary.
Well, it's like it's medicalization. It's sort of
if you wouldn't do that, then whoa, it sounds like you're scaring people. Maybe it's not like that, but it sounds to me like that. But Will, you were.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I think it's you have the outcomes indicate that the Dutch have gotten the in-home community centric thoughtfulness right. You know.
There was a time I guess it was 2008 where there was a research that came out that Holland had a big rate of dying babies, like the cot death, and I don't even know why that was, but they did research. I don't know where they did it, and then everybody was complaining, and we started to make a bit stricter rules. Also about the cot death rules, we are really we have to say that tell that in all the families where we go to. So you have to do this, this, and this, and this, not to have the cot death. And also, they decided through research method that doctors, like gynecologists, and that they should listen more to the mother because the intuition is very strong. Sometimes mothers come to the gynecologist in the hospital and when they're medical or to the midwife and they say like, yeah, I feel something's wrong, or I think it's this and that, while the ratings say everything's okay. And they also adjusted that around that time. And then the how do you say it?
Yes, I think it's sudden.
The rates went down again.
Yeah, is cot death? Is that sudden infant death syndrome?
Yes.
Yeah, like with yes. What do you want to share what that is for the people who don't know? Because and the reason I say can you share what it is because I have friends of mine who have often said, I'm terrified if my baby is sleeping and doing okay because I can't relax. I'm terrified the baby's doing okay. I'm also terrified the baby's not doing okay. And there's like just a general sense of panic 24/7.
Yeah, that happens more with first babies, and I can understand it. It's about, of course, fear, but also adrenaline that still runs through the woman's body in the first couple of days. They're awake anyway, and then they look at their child. They don't see anything because the child in the first days doesn't move a lot.
Yeah.
And they think, oh, is it breathing?
Yeah.
So I understand it, and of course you get those. You see it through media. You see all the problems, but what you they don't tell you is how many times it goes well.
Yeah.
So that's normal. I mean, negative news is always better, eh?
It's what sells.
It's what sells. Yes, it's not better. It's what sells. But cot death, or how do you call
we call it SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS.
Sudden infant death syndrome.
Yeah,
I can pronounce it. But it's about the percentage. I don't know, but a lot of it is about suffocation. So, for example, if the child is too close to the border of the bed and there's something soft laying there, it suffocates and it blocks the fresh air. So there's a little bit of time without fresh air is okay. But if it takes too long, if it takes a whole night, then it goes slowly. A baby can go into coma because the system cannot work. The vital function in the bodies cannot do their job without oxygen. So that's where the cot death comes from in general. And it happens through a lot of things. I mean, I have a very good friend of mine, and her son was laying on the couch, being very tired, with his firstborn having cramps the whole night, and then they fell asleep together on the couch. He woke up, and his child was gone, and it was still very sad. It's been 10 years now, but. Probably he was laying in a position where the baby was crooked with the head, couldn't get enough oxygen, and then so oxygen
and
is
couldn't cry, or like the cry was didn't even.
Yeah, we don't know.
It's like a slow.
He was alone and laying down. We don't know that, but the heart gave up, and then his child was gone. And so, good education is necessary, but if you follow the rules, you shouldn't have to go through this. I mean,
is that part of the reason? Like when you come in as a kraamzorg, you're educating women, these new mothers or mothers, like something to be their second or third child or whatnot, but you're educating them about this as one example, and you're also educating them about breastfeeding, right?
Yeah.
Those are kind of the two big ones.
Those are the two big ones, and then we have a few diseases things.
Yeah.
Where the common things that you get, babies go through, like a candida infection in the mouth and eye infections because of a stuck tear. How do you call that?
Tear duct. Yeah.
Tear duct.
Yeah.
Those are the smaller things. But the bigger things are safety, like how long should you be in a maxi-cosi or in a carrier or stroller or whatever.
How to swaddle your child.
How to swaddle them in a good way.
Yeah.
So they don't.
How to bathe them.
Yeah, how to bathe them. How the feeding, of course. How the skincare is a thing because they dry out very easily. The nails.
How to comfort the child, as far as like when they have gas, when they
when
this.
they cry.
Yeah.
Why they cry.
Yeah.
And after the birth, when they can be very nauseous, so they can throw up slime buckets that you think, holy crap,
there's something wrong.
There's something wrong.
Yeah.
While it's actually very normal.
Yeah.
And a baby has a good system. It's very good in self
preservation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Yeah. So
Yeah, but
if
all
you,
of the sorry, because
yeah,
all of what you just described, it has to me, it has two really nice functions. One is that it empowers the parents, the mother, the parents to feel comfortable around their newborn
yeah,
and feel like they can deal with whatever's happening with the newborn within limits, let's say. And the other one is that the it keeps them out of the hospital, and
yeah.
they don't have to go.
You don't want to be in a
Yeah,
hospital. There are
yeah,
more bacteria there than
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you don't want to be there.
yeah. It's stressful. You got to get
It's
like,
stressful.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you,
I think that's what we do. We teach them and we take away the fear
yeah,
because fear means adrenaline and that you don't need in the kraamtijd. So yeah, basically that's what we do. It's fun to talk to you about this because it actually makes me realize it's been so normal for me all
yeah,
these years,
yeah.
but it have has it tells me a new realization of how important it
Hmm.
is,
Yeah.
how good it is. Yeah,
I have friends and family members in the states who that period after giving birth is a very dark time. It's a very dark time. It's a dark time for the
yeah,
mom. It's a dark time for the relationship.
hmm
Um,
yeah. It
because
can be,
they can feel very isolated and also confused, and they're getting they're getting conflicting information, and they're always
but that we do have to. When they come from the hospital, sometimes
yeah,
they say, "Yeah, we have to do this with breastfeeding," and I'm like,
yeah,
"No,
yeah,
don't do that."
yeah,
And yeah, so that we have too.
yeah.
But I think that if
Yeah, but
you,
you're a human and you're
of
in their
course,
and you're in their home as opposed to them being on social media or
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I mean, I see with like I see with my wife. Just when you come in and you just sit and talk with her for a while,
hmm
see how she's doing. Uh,
yeah. But you also have different kinds of kraamverzorgsters, so I must say that.
yeah, sure,
I mean, in general, we get the same education,
yeah,
but there's a difference between a very young person or a person who already does it for a while.
hmm
And yeah, yeah, and the intention, because it's very easy to think like, "Ooh, that earns a lot.
hmm
Let's do that."
hmm
But I guess you get spit out quick because when you, yeah,
it's an intense. I mean, you're thrown into someone's home
yeah,
in a um, in a pressure cooker environment in the sense of like there's a newborn there, right? The
yeah,
people haven't slept,
nay,
their adrenaline is pumping,
you need to have respect for their ways
Yeah,
and how the householding is being run.
yeah,
But you also need to find your own boundaries because I remember in the beginning I wanted to do so well that I was running like crazy in the
hmm
house, which didn't add to relaxation.
hmm
Um, and sometimes people just don't know what to expect and they
hmm
just ask everything of you and you need to set some boundaries. So now and since already years, when I have an intake, you
hmm
have to be very clear about what can be expected of me, this and this and this. And if you have other things, can be done, but you talk about it and you
hmm
find a solution.
hmm
Maybe this I don't do, and then I
hmm
can do that. Or
hmm
and to
Yep,
me, I don't really care as long as it's not really hard work. But
yep.
I mean, I'm here from 9 to 4, so yeah, it doesn't matter. As long as it contributes to the well being of the family, it's fine.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's talk a minute about cost because you did mention that being a Kraamzorg, in particular being a self-employed Kraamzorg, pays well.
yeah.
How is it that the Kraamzorg role is paid for? And what I mean by that is um, what you had told me prior to the show is that when a woman is pregnant in the Netherlands, that she is by law required to notify her insurance company. Let me go back. Everyone in the Netherlands is required to have insurance, health insurance.
hmm
So then they're required to notify their health insurance company when they're pregnant,
hmm
and then As a result of that, a kraamzorg is either assigned to them or they can find their own kraamzorg, but you're paid ultimately by the insurance companies. Is that right?
Yes. Well, it's a little bit more complicated. There's a thing in between. The companies who have Kraamzorg on payroll,
Yeah.
they, of course, the taxes are different, but they get paid also by the insurance companies. Often they get paid more because the liability is less. They say, I don't think that's correct, but
Yeah.
that's how they see it. That if all one person make one mistake, you have a lot of mistakes. So if we want to have a direct line towards the insurance companies, you have rates, but if you then they take away like 20%.
If you're a solo operator?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you would say, okay, this is my company, of course you need to have like a Kamer van Koophandel, you need to be registered as a company, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But as a self-employed company. So that's
as
the first,
they pay.
yes, as a payer.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, what they see if you decline your facture, if you decline it, then they see, aha, ZZP'er. So they know that you're one person. So they're going to do that. I wanted to say discount, but it's not discount.
Yeah, it's a cut kind of.
It's
cut in how much they're going to pay you. Yeah.
So therefore, luckily, we went searching for a way to get at least the same. We have the same obligations. We need to have schoolings. We need to have our company insurance. You need to make sure that you have things in order with certificates and stuff. And of course, if you have a bigger company, you have a rental place, I guess. So you have more
car, right?
overhead. Yeah. I guess you have more overhead costs. But at the same time, you get stuff back from the insurance because of your, I don't know how you call it. Personeelskosten, like
reimbursements?
Yeah, like the costs that you pay for personnel, sick health costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personnel costs, we'll call it.
But those things they get back from insurance, so it's basically the same. Maybe not totally the same, but anyway, we do the same job.
Yeah.
We have to work really hard for it because when we are on our own, you need to have backups.
Yeah.
You cannot say, no, yeah, okay, then we take personal number one to take over.
Yeah.
No, so you need to be prepared. That costs a lot of time.
Yeah.
You need to make a network of people who can fill in for you.
Yeah.
And also, there's a risk of somebody coming that is not really, who doesn't have your standards or who works totally different and is not being, you said it.
Yeah, it doesn't maintain your standard of care, right? Like, because I think that there's a point where if you're looking at the calendar, let's say, and you've got 52 bookings in the year, I don't know how many you got. Let's say it's 50, just for sake of argument here. And one of the women gives birth earlier than anticipated, or one of them gives birth later than anticipated, or whatnot. There's some overlap in the calendar. Like you're in charge of dealing with that, right? Like you have to find a replacement or balance.
I have to. In the beginning, they sign an agreement.
Yep.
And in that agreement, it's also saying that I'm obligated, I'm responsible for the care they get. So by law, you're obligated to take care of that. But what I wanted to say about so that is the thing you need to cover, and then what we try to arrange is to get the same rates as they do, and but therefore you need a kind of certification which you can only get if you have people on a payroll. So we cannot get
it's
that.
A way to exclude. Yeah.
It's the short story because it's much more complicated. But anyway, so now we have this in between company who do have all those certificates, they declined for us. So in the beginning, they asked a lot of fee, those companies. So you could ask yourself, is it
Is it worth it
then
for me to be
now
able to
is
get the
it
extra 20%
yeah.
back? Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
it gets better and better, and so the circumstances are very good now. So I'm with this company called Kraamverzorgster,
Yeah.
and I can almost, they made a nice software where I can go into a portal and almost directly decline by the insurance with the insurance company and get my money in a reasonable amount of time. And they get an amount, so the Kramer gets an amount once a month.
Yeah.
I pay them.
Yeah.
And not also per hour and
Yeah.
per client, and which a lot of other companies did.
It's just a flat fee, basically, to be part of this company.
Yeah.
Let's say, yeah.
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 So,
Where I was going with the question, I want to be clear, is that the insurance companies mandate the kraamzorg system. That's not the right way to put it. They mandate having a kraamzorg, and Dutch citizens are mandated to have insurance. So it's like two tiers there.
yeah.
And with the reasoning behind this is that it's a money issue in a good way. And what I mean by that is that, like, the kraamzorgs, as a result of the system, result in less money spent by the insurance companies. Like, there's less hospital admissions, there's less instances of postpartum, there's less instances of issues with the mother and the child after the birth. Is it like that? That's why, right?
Yeah, that's true. But there's an overhead of where the money goes through from the government.
Okay.
And we are still not on the table of decisions. We're still somewhere in the back.
Okay.
So a lot of the money, well, we're busy with it now. We have like one person around the table of the government where they decide where the money goes to.
That's kind of lobbying on behalf of the kraamzorgs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, discuss about the necessity and how much, and but still, the most money goes to the hospitals. Yeah, which maybe is okay, but we hardly got. I mean, if you are on a payroll, the money you get is not that much. It's quite low if you put it next to the companies that have the Kraamzorg. So, but that's of course a different branch. I mean, you have to look at the CEO,
CEO.
Yeah, the CEO.
Yeah.
Of things.
Yeah.
But they're still fighting to get payroll people better salaries. That's why I'm always saying, why don't you get self-employed? It is a bit of a hassle, I must say. You have a lot of responsibility, but it's
more paperwork.
Yeah, more paperwork. I hate it. I really hate it. But I mean, it's the first year you have a lot of hassle. After that, it goes by itself. But you do, of course, have to go through the insurance, through the taxes. How do you say it?
Tax filings and like the
But everybody has to do that.
Yeah.
So once you have it right one time, it will. But anyway, that is how the system works. So it gets first you get like the three midwives, the hospitals, and we have the kraamzorg. And from there on, they do their thing. Yeah, that's how it's done.
Yeah, let's talk briefly just a little bit about some of the outcomes as well for the Dutch. So, like, as we're talking about costs, I said at the outset of the podcast that it costs 20% of what it costs in the States to give birth here. I looked it up prior to the show. If you do a vaginal birth here, it's about 3,500 euros, all in costs.
That's what is included there? Do you know that?
That includes prenatal, delivery, and 49 hours of postpartum care with the kraamzorg.
Okay, but you don't have to pay that all yourself.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. It's roughly 0 to 500 out of pocket in terms of insurance.
Yes.
Yeah, but the actual cost is still 3,500 euros,
Yeah.
3,000 to 3,500 euros, right? Okay.
And in the States?
In the States, for the same birth, vaginal birth, not a C-section, right? It's $12,000 to $18,000. Okay, yeah, and then your out-of-pocket expenses. That's prior to your insurance kicking in. Let's say is 2,000 to 5,000. Okay,
Wow.
and the postpartum care does is only limited to 1 6-week visit. 1 6-week visit, and it's usually you have to go to the doctors. Like they're not going to send somebody to you.
But if you have problems like more blood loss
complications during the birth,
yeah, or complications after birth,
yeah,
because during birth, of course, it's hospital thing,
yeah,
but after birth,
yeah,
let's say you get a breast infection, or you just go to a GP or something.
I don't really know. Yeah, I can tell you that there's. Yeah, I don't really know, but I think that the root of that is that the person's going to need to go to. There's not going to be somebody in home who diagnoses it for them. Number one, and number two is they're going to have to proactively go. Let's say that you see that the breast is getting infected on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's like a 3 when you catch it. Okay.
Yeah.
That person in the States is going to be at a 7 in terms of severity, 5 to a 7 by the time that they go. Yeah, because they're not going to be able to get in same day, most likely either. Right. So, and you're talking about something where you're going to go through a couple more, at least one more night of lack of sleep, or that the child's not, it's just getting formula as opposed to breast milk. So, yeah, it's, and because there's another stat, always like sharing this, but the Netherlands, in terms of OECD countries, they have the kids that have the highest rate of happiness anywhere in the world. Lowest rate of use of antidepressants, sorry, and highest rate of self-reported happiness.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's tied in with the birthing system.
You think?
Yeah, I do. I think it is because it's sorry. I want to hear what you have to say, but I just want to say that like I think it's tied in with like just this emphasis on preventative kind of like in-home care. Yeah, I think it's like there's a real push towards that.
Yeah, I think that's true. But in some countries, it also has to do with the whole economy system.
Yeah.
I mean, how much they earn.
Yeah.
And how, for instance, in Norway, Sweden, like the Scandinavian
countries. Yeah.
They have this policy of having 1 year of
maternity leave.
Yeah. And that also takes care of a lot of stress and also bringing up your child in the right way.
Yep.
Because that makes a stronger child.
Yep.
If the bonding is okay, it makes your child stronger and therefore maybe better educated, a better job, and so on. So I think that the luck percentage that's also written somewhere in those countries is the highest, and it has a lot to do with economy. Economy also. So I think yes, you're right. Well, so what does
a Dutch woman have in terms of maternity leave? Like, how long do they get to take maternity leave for?
16 weeks.
Okay.
And so if you choose to go 4 weeks before your due date, then you have more weeks after.
Okay.
So that's how you can play with that a little bit.
What's the reasoning there? So you actually it encourages you to take.
Yeah, maybe, and you have a choice. If you do well, then you can continue a bit longer. Maybe for some jobs it's necessary to stay on longer. I don't know.
Maybe I misunderstood. So like, let's say that. Let's say your due date is June 1st, and you elect to start your maternity leave on May 1st. Let's call it 4 weeks, although it's not, but 4 weeks ahead of that. Then after the birth on June 1st, you get 16 weeks plus another 4 weeks.
No.
Or you already?
It's 4 weeks before.
Yeah.
and then 16 minus 4.
Oh, so you move it. It's basically you get 16 total, and you can move it.
Yes.
Got
Yes,
it. Okay.
right.
Yeah. All right.
And the funny thing, or the strange thing about it, is they're so solid with that.
Yeah.
That even if you, yeah, if you would give birth 2 weeks after your leave, no, you leave your work, you have your verlof 4 weeks before your due date.
Yeah.
And then in 2 weeks you give birth.
Yeah.
That's actually a good thing.
Yeah, because then you get more time after.
Yeah, more time out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's nature who decides that.
Yeah.
Who will not always. If you have a medical reason, it could be earlier.
Yeah.
But in that case, you probably medical wise, you have to stop working earlier. So that's. But in general, that would be the case, and then you have more weeks off. And now in Holland, it gets better and better. I'm happy with that development because fathers used to have 2 days, one for the birth, one for registering your child. Now they get 5 working days, so that's a week. That's already better.
But it should be clear when you say 5 working days, it's paid time off. That's
Yes,
what. Yeah.
paid
So
time off.
and for the mother, that's 16 weeks of maternity leave is also paid time off, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So because they can stay on maternity leave after the 16 weeks. It's just unpaid.
It's unpaid or paid for a part.
Yeah.
Like so many percent.
Yeah.
You get paid.
Yeah.
And the dad can do that also, like the parents' leave. It's called.
Yeah.
And then the dad can choose for that also. So you could also say 1 day less working for both parents because child care, hoe zeg je dat? Kinderopvang.
Yeah.
Child care is also costing lots of money, and so it's good that we have this development going on, and I hope it continues to spread and get bigger because it gives families more chances and children also to have a good relaxed start
in life. Let's say,
yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an opinion, or what is your opinion about breastfeeding as far as what are they teaching when you're in the certification process for becoming a kraamzorg? And this is a point of contention. I should say this because you and I had talked prior to the show about fed is best versus breast is best, and kind of how that stacks up. Yeah. You want to share?
Well, of course, my opinion, my personal opinion, and also my professional opinion is breast is best. I can tell you that.
And why is it best?
But they still don't know everything about what is in the milk.
Okay.
They're still finding out things, but the more things they find out about how much it does for the system of a newborn, the more I get like, yeah, breast milk is the best. But best is a word that is
charged. It's got connotations to it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because what is best for someone who has a trauma. It's not good for the mother. Stressed mother gives a stressed baby. So then the word best has a different meaning. But if all is well and the mother can latch on the baby, then the milk that comes in, it's good for allergic things later on, for asthma. Even they found out that a type of cancer it helps against, or not against, but it gives the immune system such a boost that it can fight that kind of cancer.
Crazy.
Yeah, isn't it?
You can put it on wounds too. Yeah, I mean, like.
Yes, you use it on infections.
Yeah.
And I make my own biological care stuff for the skin for the baby. And sometimes maybe I can do it. You guys do tomorrow. I make a cream out of mother's milk because it gives smoothness to the skin. It cleans the skin. It actually goes against infection of the skin. It heals wounds. I've seen babies with infection in the eye because of the tear duct that is stuck, and then you clean it every time, but it just stays there. And if it stays too long, it gets infected. You get a red eye and it's swollen. And if you every time, I mean, Josie had it a little bit
Yeah.
on the side. Normally, you get it on the inside because that is where the tear duct is, but she had it on the outside, and it was very irritated red spot there. And I think Anne put drops of milk in there for 2 or 3 days, and it was gone. So it's really good, and yeah, it's not for nothing that Cleopatra went bathing in the donkey milk. Well, hazelnut milk.
That sounds like a Dutch expression translated into English.
Yes.
Is it? Yeah.
No, it's not. Donkey, no, it isn't. Cleopatra was bathing in milk of the donkey.
I did not know that. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Is this when she was spotted by?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but she was. You see her in a white bath, but so because it's so caring and so nurturing.
Okay.
But they sell donkey milk in soap,
Huh.
in shampoos. They sell it. Also, horse milk tends to be very good for you for your immune system. But mother's milk the same. It boosts your immune system. Actually, I did not tell Anne yet, but she should the milk that she has now, because in the first week there's still some colostrum in there. Yes, the colostrum in there, the yellow fat stuff, which is very rich on fats and how you say it, egg whites and
nutrient dense.
Yeah. If you freeze that in cubes, and then maybe for Josephine, I want to say, Sophia, when she has a cold, you mix that with her milk so she gets an extra boost. You can do so much with it. So and it comes naturally. So why not give it? And sometimes women are not able to put the baby on the breast, but you can pump. And I'm not saying that
everyone needs to do this.
Nay.
Yeah.
Because I know that there are reasons for not giving breastfeeding. But that is a different story. But in general, if you have it, please even donate it if you don't want to. There's a place for it where you can donate your milk. They check it on diseases. And then other small children in the hospital, like the how do you call them? The early borns, the prenatal, neonatology. They're on the neo, and they have a better chance of living if they get that milk. So
it's a win.
So yeah, it's that important. So yeah, that's my statement about breastfeeding.
Amazing.
Yeah, about breast milk actually, and the breastfeeding also enhances the, hoe zeg je dat? Gehechtheid is bonding.
Yeah.
But bonding, people think like that you're having a nice conversation with your child, but it's more. Bonding is about
oxytocin. You two are paired together. You're like,
you're paired together, and you get an extra connection. What makes your child be more self-conscious, and like, to be very blunt, when they walk away from home, they tend to come back earlier when there's a problem, come back to their parents because they know that is a safe place. That is where I can
get nourished. I'm protected there.
Yes. And that is all due to good bonding. A part of that. Of course, bringing up your child well is a big part also, and surroundings like schooling and playgrounds are also contributing to that. But it starts with being born, being breastfed with attention. Look at your child, feel that. Yeah, sounds a bit maybe we call it zweverig, a bit in the air.
Woo, yeah.
But get connected and exchange energy. And then you'll have a very not crying, happy baby. Also, not always because cramps kick in and that's not nice, but in
Hunger.
general,
Yeah.
the basics do that. So yeah,
Breach.
that's breastfeeding. Yeah, it's a powerful thing. Eh?
So for those listening who, yeah, would like to, um, yeah, like to learn more about the Dutch system or like to learn more about you, is there anything you want to leave them with? I feel like we've covered most of the points I had thought of prior to this podcast. Is there a message for mothers to be?
Yeah, I think what I always say is that in terms of giving birth, give birth where you feel safe, and it doesn't matter where that is. It's just where you feel safe. I'm not against hospitals, but as long as you feel safe, you'll have a good chance of going through birth more smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's one.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is before you give a judgment about breastfeeding, yes or no, read yourself in. Just get some books about breastfeeding and not only from the media, but just from breastfeeding centers or
Mm-hmm.
where you get the right information.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of rubbish going around.
Do you think that there is a concentrated effort to get women away from breastfeeding? And why I mean that is, like, you could say that if you were, and I'm going to play a hypothetical here, but let's say you wanted to get women back to work as quickly as possible post birth, right, postpartum. Um, then getting them away from breastfeeding is a way to get them back to work quicker, because you can give them formula, give the newborn formula.
Mm-hmm.
The mother doesn't spend time breastfeeding. Like, is there an economic push
Well,
to demonize breastfeeding? I don't know. That's a weighted
well,
question,
there
but
is, yeah, no, it is because some companies, there, not so long ago, there was a new law that says that all the companies need to make at least so much time for the women to or pump or breastfeed or have the time to go home and breastfeed. So what you're asking me
yeah,
is the other way around.
yeah, it got well, in the Netherlands, so it already got addressed. Let's say,
Yes,
yeah,
but there are still a lot of companies who make it so difficult for you to 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 do the breastfeeding or even pumping.
yeah,
Very unfriendly. Somewhere in the back of the hospital where you work,
yeah,
that you have to go like 2 stories up,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you're like,
It's a 20-minute walk to get there, or whatnot.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then yeah, so they make it impossible
Mm.
almost. I'm happy that it gets less, but that would be a sabotage thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And further, yeah, what could be a reason? I don't know. I think, yeah.
Well, I think it's also important you talked about your fulfillment in this work, and that
Hmm.
how much you enjoy it,
Yeah.
and I, as an outsider to the system, seeing it with a different set of eyes
Hmm.
has been. I have found it very informative to look at it, and then also look at the outcomes for the Dutch from it, and go, "This is a nice way of
Yeah.
welcoming a new life into the world."
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
and not only is it a nice way of welcoming a new life into the world, it's also a really nice way to make a mom feel uh, comfortable and confident and healthy, and not like on an island,
Yeah.
not isolated.
Yeah.
So
And think for yourself. And not let other people. Basically, the last thing I want to say about it in general
yeah,
is that women and maybe also the dads should listen to their intuition,
hmm
because in the Western world we kind of forgot about that. But we used to have in the Stone Ages, we had a radar which perfectly tuned in on everything and told your body what to do.
mm,
We forgot about that because we have a lot of interference of medicals, media. So we don't trust on our own instincts anymore.
mm.
But if you try and find that there are different ways to doing that, from meditating to reading a book to just, look at sensible stuff, and try to find that back, because it will tell you if things are right or wrong, also in terms of giving breastfeeding. So listen to your intuition.
Cool.
I would say.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Where, if people want to learn more about you, you have a website?
I have a website. There's a small story about me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do.
Okay.
People can look me up.
We will.
Bo-kraamverzorg.nl.
Yeah. We will put it in the show notes.
Yes, you can do that. And if they want to ask me something about kraamzorg, I'm happy to answer. Maybe you can also put my email address there.
Sure.
If people want to ask me things, I would love to. I would love to do my work in the States. If anybody has, let's say, get me a ticket, then I would do it maybe even one time for free. Just to let them see how great it can be. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, there's a standing offer, folks. You have to pay for her travel and room and board, but you would have Bo in your home. Yeah. I think I would do that. Thanks. Yeah. Depends on where in the States you want to go. I think Florida is nice. Okay, there we go. Yeah. No, I would do it anywhere, I think, but in a reasonable house. I'm not asking a lot. Just, having food and everything, and then I'm okay. Cool. Yeah, it would be a good experience. Lovely. Thanks, Bo. Thanks for coming on. No, thank you. I got to learn a lot. Hi again, folks. If you enjoyed the show, I've got a favor to ask. Would you mind leaving a positive review on iTunes, Spotify, or whichever platform you've been listening to this podcast on? Every one of those helps. If you didn't like the show, or if you've got feedback about it, let me know via the contact form on spreadgreatideas.org. I'd like to hear from you as far as what can be done to improve. So again, if you enjoyed the show, then please help out by spreading the word. And if you didn't, let me know how to improve it. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I hope you'll check out the next one. Thank you.